Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. Welcome back to Trash Told You. I am apparently the KC Sim Trash now. I've not changed my name from being on the vodka stream. We share StreamYards. No, don't share them, but I mean, like, the account goes over. It's weird because it's like the GeekVerse account, and then I go over to Dave's account, and I still keep that. But yes, go follow Krypton Cage, you know, my Twitter daddy and stuff like that. But yeah, this is an impromptu one. This episode was planned for Wednesday, and there still might be one. We'll see. But there was a window of when I was going to be alone for a little bit. And then all this news dropped today randomly on a Saturday, which is very odd, and we're going to get into that. So really, this is going to be about two things. It's going to be about all the Superman Legacy rumors and casting and stuff coming out. And then it's going to be talking about some Guardians. Now, Guardians, we don't have the exact numbers, but we got enough going on where it's like, okay, we can kind of judge. Because nowadays, opening weekend's great, but it's all about that second weekend. But as always, head down the links below for everything you need to know, where to find us, the video, the audio feeds, our website, the Discord. Most importantly, head over to Patreon. We're trying to hit 50 patrons by July 31st. If you do that, you unlock 6 episodes. The Rise of Skywalker commentary track that we never did. An MCU reboot cast. What would happen after Secret Wars this rebooted? We would do that. Our top 15 video games, a Nintendo Cinematic Universe cast, a mystery box episode, lots of fun things going on there, and GV Bingo, which is a fun interactive thing, and you can do this at any tier, whether it's a $1 tier or the $15 tier, any phase. You get a bunch of stuff too, ad-free episodes, early episodes. We'd really appreciate that. Again, even you just throw us a checkle and get us, and even if you're waiting, if you want to wait till fine, but July, hit us with that, because if not, those episodes are locked. We're not going to do them because that's like extra work. And we're saying, hey, if we can hit this goal, you get them early, you get them ad free. Everyone else will get them too, but you get to unlock 5 new episodes, 5 extra record episodes. If not, we're locking up, and we probably won't do another one of these runs till maybe like next year or something, right? So we would really appreciate that. But, oh, excuse me. I gotta make sure I got my water on me. Uh-oh. I do. Thank goodness. Last year I was told you I didn't. It was a big risk. But and then, yeah, check out later on this week after I'll be dropping. It's on YouTube, but it will drop in podcast feeds. What a fun one. We had a full house. It was myself, Taylor, and Kirkland, but we had Chris Balgo on there. We had Carl. We had April. We had Maddie. S. Bubs returned. It was a very, very fun time. It was one of those that we went almost an hour over. We tried to do 2 hours just because, like, there's things, even I've kind of forgot there's things I had to do and stuff like that. And the other guys were like, hey, we've had a certain time because it's just like, we're busy people. But it was one of those things that we were talking, had so much fun that we just kind of forgot that it's in over an hour. I was like, oh, right, I got to go do some stuff. So, but yeah, a big thank you to everyone that joined. And After Nine's tons of fun. I love After Nine in general. We've had times where it's like that. We've had multiple Full House ones. It's fun. One time thing, it was just one time like just us, S Bubs and Carl, where it's just like a very low key personal one. It's a good time. So, yeah, always you can join that. If you join the phase 2 tier it up, you get to call on each month. And then May 26th, we're going to be doing another After Nine, a movie night. For every quarter, we do like a commentary track movie night because people want us to do commentary tracks again. We're going to be watching Batman 89 together, so that's going to be lots of fun. So yeah, let's get into this. Like I said, everything you know is down below. So it's very, very, very odd and suspicious in my opinion, because to start this all off, now these reports are legitimately coming from like A tier people. It's funny how last Travis told you I talked to you about F4, right? And it's like the A tier people aren't really reporting Margot Robbie or Adam Driver. It's other people, right? The same way the A tier people never, I think Collider once put out Garfield, but they never really came out and said, yes, Toby and Andrew are in No Way Home. They're very quiet. Where this, they're talking. And these are 2 A tier people talking. It's the Deadline Variety, as big as you can get there. Deadline Hollywood Reporter. Those are the 2. And this is the weird thing where Kroll said, and he was on the Deadline side because he adds some information. I'm going to go, how I'm going to do this is I'm going to go Superman, Lex Luthor, Lois, and talk about some other details that come out. They're few and far in between, but still some little snippets that have happened. And this is where his tweet to preferences is the best thing. Maybe I'll just pull it up and read it verbatim, because then I can tell you, kind of give you an idea, because these have come out again, A tier and stuff like that. But where is it here? As I'm filling to there, and Taylor's updating me about his Bigfoot con. Look out for cryptic clues. I've seen some photos. My goodness, the Bigfoot con here in Kelowna. Yeah. So all these reports happen. We're going to break them all down, right? But all these reports happen, and Kroll comes out and says, just to be clear, they aren't close to making a shortlist, let alone picking their Superman. So using terms like frontrunner might be a bit strong. So that's the best way to preference that yes, these are coming from A-tier people, but these may not be any of the choices at all. For me, what's very suspicious about it is if you have listened to this enough, or you do a podcast or anything, or if you're just listening to the pod or like the movie entertainment sphere, right? You know there's certain times scoops don't drop, and they usually don't drop on the weekends, or lots of times big news drops on the weekends that they want to bury. That's why like on Friday you don't get too many scoops. You get a few there. They put out like the Heat Vision newsletter and stuff like that, but for Hollywood Reporter, but it's like usually smaller stuff, right? It doesn't gain as much traction because people, even though they're free, they're on their phones in a different way. Maybe they're going out and doing stuff, they're talking to people, they're just relaxing. Like Monday to Friday, like that weekday, like I'd say like to like 2, 1 p.m. People are at work, people are, maybe got a lunch break, stuff like that, but there's no more lunch breaks. There's no more, I got to check my phone at this point because it's always on, right? So for it to drop randomly on a Saturday, and it was my time, like 11, 10 a.m., something like that, PST, it was very, very odd. It was just a whole slew of here's what we've heard. So that's where at first when I saw it, I went, okay, is something going to drop more concrete, right? Because why is Boris Kidd, who lots of people consider the top scooper, why is he putting this out right now? Because it's a Saturday, and if Kroll's saying, oh, like they're not, like these aren't front runners, so just sit down, they could be the guy, but could not be the guy. It's very suspicious. I don't know if it's just, hey, he got some news and he wanted to run with it because maybe other people might get it, because clearly Kroll has some other news. Like clearly some of these other scoopers have other news too, right? So that thing where it's like, why is he running with it right now? But where are we in? We're in May, right? I'm forgetting. May, June, July. It's 2 months. And I think they said Labor Day weekend and stuff like that, which I can't even remember what that is. But that's where I think we've talked about this. We've talked about the Discord. Espos brought this up where it's like they're going to win Comic-Con DC. And I definitely think so, because they're going to have a lot of new shiny things where Marvel's taking a step back. And, they're kind of, even though Guardians talk about big win for them, by June, we will have, I think, majority of these filled out. So I don't know why it can't, like, that's what I mean. I don't know why, if it's an early report, why they're putting it out, but I also don't know why they rushed it out on a Saturday. Not sure why. So there's something going on there that maybe he just thought, let's just get some news out there. Maybe it was a slower week for clicks or something like that. I don't know. But it went out there in the Wild Wild West. So I'm going to pull up the actual article because I want to go piece by piece, and we'll break it down that way. So give me 1 second. But yeah, we got a slew of people that are going to be talked about for these roles and stuff like that. Okay, so Boris Kidd, he put this up. A special edition of the Heat Vision, stuff like that. So welcome to the Saturday edition. Where is it here? So, will likely take place after Memorial Day weekend. Where am I here? Oh, there was a better, as far as certain bald-headed read on here. Here we go. Here's a better one. Searching for Superman inside the quest to cast DC's new top hero. So let's get into this here. So this was how we start off with Superman. Casting for Legacy is featured and meant to kick off with Gunn and Saffron, much vaunted for Shepherd DC Studios. Just fluff stuff, right? David Cornsweet, I don't know, I'm going to say Darren Cornsweet, who recently played the ill-fated projectionist in opposite Mia Goth in Pearl, is among the top contenders to play Kent, aka Superman. Advancing to the test screen stage that will likely take place after Memorial Day or June, which makes sense, right? Because I feel like July is going to be the big rollout. Multiple sources tell the Hollywood Reporter and 2 other contenders may also be in the mix, but their identities remain unknown. So that's the thing where I want to start there as well, that James Gunn did come out and they did say, like, hey, he's like, I never want to talk about a person's audition process. He didn't come out and say anything to say no. So these people are definitely in the mix. They're people that are being talked about right now. There are people that are taking meetings and everything like that. So that's a good thing, I guess, for the scoopers that they got that he didn't come out right away and say no. So you got that going on. So again, in this whole mix of why is this scoop out? Why is it on a Saturday? But Kroll's kind of saying parts of it are true. James Gunn saying, hey, I'm not denying some of this stuff. He didn't say that, but in the last. But so this guy, Dave, so I brought up the other 2 guys we'll get to that in a second. With Superman, you got to get like a certain look, right? And my whole thing with Dave and Cornsweet, and like they said, he played, was the projectionist in Pearl. I liked him for what he's in. It was a very small role. It wasn't anything like, man, I didn't walk away being, hey, I got to see who David Cornsweet is. Even though I feel like I've seen his picture now. There's one picture in particular here that's come up that I've seen a bunch of times for people being like, this guy should be Superman. So I guess people have talked about it. My thing is what, so I liked him enough in Pearl. There's not much to go out there. Liked him enough in Pearl, so at least I know, okay, can be a decent actor. Didn't run away saying, oh, this guy should be everything. But I digress. My only kind of, I don't know, hang up with him is that he just kind of looks like, he looks just like a baby Cavill. That's my thing, is like, I want it to be a little bit different. All the Superman, obviously, there's a look, right? The dark hair, the spit curl, there's certain features. But with Reeve and Ralph, that's a little bit different Ralph, that's different because they're trying to get a young Ralph. Or, sorry, yeah, a young Reeve, sorry. So I get that. And even then, I think they look different. You got Tyler Hoechlin, who looks different, and Henry Cavill, yeah, at times has the look, but he still look different than Reeve and Ralph, and I'd say Hoechlin, who came later on, or Dean Cain, all these people, right? With this guy, Cornsweet guy, I'm gonna just call him David because I feel like I'm butchering his name. I don't know how you say it. He has the look, which is good, but he just kind of looks very, very Cavill-like. Like, I'm gonna pull up a photo here and screen share, but to me, it looks like if you were to do a flashback in Mission Impossible of like the recent one, and you were to say, hey, we need to cast a young Henry Cavill. This dude is it. And I know that's going to be tons of people will say, well, that's what Superman looks like. I guess it's just that you still could, like, the same way Batman and Wayne have a type. But to me, I don't think Pattinson, Bale, or Affleck look alike. They look like they have similar features as far as the Affleck or the Wayne aesthetic, but they don't look like each other. But this guy, he looks like a young Cavill. So that's my only thing of like, we're not going too far away, but hey, I'm fine. As long as the guy can go, that works for me. Like right there, this guy's looking like baby Cavill and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll see. And he's not been in much. And here's the other thing. He was pretty good in the show Hollywood. That's good to hear. There was another, what was it? Let's see. There was another, maybe it'll come up too, where maybe I'll just get to it. Let's see here. And like W says, David Corson is my top choice because he's about the right age, has a look, and I think looking like young Cavill will help Cavill fans accept him. Yes and no. I think Lennox, I think there's a part of you that's right, that I think the sane people will just go, hey, like, cool, he looks like a young Superman. Anybody that's like not sane, like the really crazy Snyder fans, no, if it's Henry or bust, right? It has to be Henry and stuff like that. So let's see here. So then we continue on with, as I'm frozen, hopefully I'm not actually frozen the stream. Okay, there we go. This is where, man, I was PO'd and stuff like that. And again, not the front runner, not the top choice, just the thing that's coming around. There's two other actors identified that they don't know. And then, so here's the split other than so far. We don't know those two unknown, but here's some split that's going to happen. Jacob Elordi, the sought-after star who broke out as the resident villain on Euphoria, is a name that surfaced for the role of Kent, but sources say he never submitted himself into the ring. Now, I'm not saying I was right. I'm not saying he would have got the role or anything like that, but I just thought, because I know so many people are like, oh, he's so dark in Euphoria. It's like the moments where he plays not dark, he's fantastic. I still think he's the perfect choice, but this makes me feel like a little better about it. It sucks because it's like, man, I thought he was a great choice. They were talking about him early. That means they thought he was a good choice. And I actually think that he would have got it, unless he butchered the audition. But here's the thing. I feel better if they went to him and talked to his agent and say, hey, you want to do Superman? And I'm not sure if they've seen the script, whatever they've done. I'm sure they've gotten a pitch. Whatever the reason is, they went to him and he said, nah, I'm good. Which is the same thing Chalamet has said, right? Like he's been told two things of, like, I can't remember. I think it was Leo that told him this advice was like, don't get addicted to drugs and don't be in a superhero film. And Chalamet's, I think maybe one day he could be, but as right now he's doing a different path, right? And that's fine. If Elordi doesn't want to do that, that's fine. You just got to hope that you don't kick yourself years down the line of, let's say you do Euphoria and then after not much comes your way, it's like, fuck, I could have been Superman. But maybe that's not what interests him. Maybe Euphoria, he's in that Elvis movie. Maybe he didn't want to play superhero, especially with this, especially the idea of this is the first chapter. Because I don't care what people say. I know you got Blue Beetle. I know you had Aquaman, even Creature Commandos. I don't give a fuck. this is the kickoff of the new DCU. Blue Beetle might do well and they might fold it into it, but this is James Gunn kickoff. He's written it, he's directed it. This is the full on, hey, this is the start of something new. You're going to be that guy for 10 to 15 years if it goes well, right? And maybe he just looks and go, you know what? I don't want to be that guy for 10, 15 years, which fair enough. So to me, it's like good on them for asking and good on them for, looking after it. But then, good on him for saying, nah, I'm good. I don't need it. And that sucks. Now, other than Jacob Elordi, because he's an established name, right? You got this David guy, hasn't been in much. There's two other names that I had to look up with Tom Brittany and Andrew Richardson. Never really seen them in much. This is the thing for them versus David. These three have very different looks. The Andrew Richardson legitimately looks like he could be like related to Garfield, that kind of realm. And then Tom Britton does, to me, he didn't really look like a Superman type. He looked more of a Al Richardson, the guy who plays Hawk on Titans and stuff like that. And he's Jack Reacher now. He had like a more stern kind of jockish look. That's nothing against him. I'm just saying, like, for Superman, I don't think of a jock per se, but what to me shows is other than Jacob, and again, these are all just rumors going around, but other than Jacob, they're going after people who are they're going after people who don't have much of a name to them. They're going after the same people that, like Cavill wasn't established. He was in a few things like Stardust and everything like that, and I think this is smart. Other than Jacob Elordi, I feel like they could kind of get away with, because I feel like he's only been in Euphoria. The other stuff he hasn't been as that good. I guess he has that Elvis movie. Other than that, we're just going off these rumor names. They're all people that this would be their big break, and I think that's smart. I think that's very interesting what they're going to do with the other castings and stuff like that, because I think it's not going to be its own cutout, but where was I'll read the other thing that was in the article too, that, what's his name, Boris Kitt there, because he had pretty much hinted that there's not going to be, what was it? There'll be other heroes in this, even though it's the first chapter. Oh my God, my phone is betraying me, you bastard. I just want to get the full quote here, but it's pretty much that, yes, there's going to be other characters. And while rogues are being chased by many of town's up-and-comers to include the trio of classic characters, Clark, Lex, and Lois, sources say the movie will be populated by many faces as it will seek to introduce DC heroes that are already established in the movie's setting. Now, obviously, DC, mass universe, that could be anybody, right? Even James Gunn today said someone's already cast. It's not any of the main three, but someone is cast for a role in there. Some people said, oh, is that Momoa's Lobo? Then there was one tweet where someone said, I bet it's an actor from Peacemaker, a Peacemaker character. James Gunn liked that tweet, and he put a mermaid, which that's what Vigilante always used. That to me is a weird. I like Vigilante and Peacemaker. I would not want Vigilante in Superman, that type of humor, unless it's like a quick cameo or something. And I hope that's not the case. I trust him after Guardians. That reaffirmed it, but that's something where, okay, there's going to be other heroes. I think not Batman, but I think Wayne has a good chance, especially because they're doing Brave and the Bold. I think there's a good chance you could have Bruce Wayne before there. I really do. Wonder Woman, I don't think so. I think because there's that rumor, the animated project. I think they'll wait a little longer before they recast Gal, which I think is going to happen. So I don't think it's going to be her. And there's other heroes, right? You could get your Martian Manhunter, get your Green Arrows, get your Flash even. Like, probably not Flash either. They'll probably wait the space from Ezra unless it's like a kid Flash or something, right? So the other heroes concept I like. And so far what we're seeing is it looks like they're going to go after a guy that same thing. I hadn't seen the two other guys in something, but the same thing as David. It's like, oh, I've seen him in one thing, right? So I think that's what we're going to be getting with Superman, and that's fine. And again, I know Kroll says, hey, it's not close yet, but it's like Labor Day, Comic-Con, it's all coming up. Like, I would be shocked that there would be no, that's a good one too, Superman, my first appearance of Supergirl. Absolutely. Even because we don't know, right? That movie's Woman of Tomorrow. It could be, because it's not an origins, but you could get flashbacks to him on Krypton and him with Kara. I think that's a really good shot. Now, again, there's still part of me that gets really bummed when we haven't seen Flash. I think Sasha Calle looks great. And we've heard tons of people. Now we've gotten reviews, right? Not official reviews, but reactions. Tons of people have doubled down and said, yeah, she's fantastic. So that is the tough thing. Again, if you ask me, I'm going to always repeat it till we get Superman. I was the route where I wish we did like a soft reboot and we kept the universe going and kept these great actors, but we're rebooting. It would feel weird if Sasha kills it, then right after we get a new Supergirl, but Sasha looks like she's from the 89 universe, right? And that could literally be their write-off of, well, this is a Superman in this universe, so it couldn't be Sasha. And it's like, yeah, I get it. But like, does the mainstream audience care? We'll accept it and stuff like that. But I digress. So yeah, those are some choices right now. It seems like, again, even Cross is not the front runner. It seems like the David guy is like the front runner or the most talked about. And, you know, good for him if he gets it. I'm all down to see, you know, Breaking Bad, how the Prince David Corzon became... very, I don't know what I was reading here. Just some more stuff about everything's bright, optimistic could be used to describe Coruscant. A Juilliard. Oh, it's like a whole piece on him. Breaking Bad, how the politicians David Coruscant became Hollywood material. Oh, okay. So the Entertainment Weekly just did like a expose on him. And yeah, he looks so much like Cavill, but you know, that's fine. As long as he can act, that's fine with me. Now we get into the bigger part of it, and we're going to take an ad break because there is a fifth, sixth choice. There is another choice for Superman, or is it for Lex Luthor? We do not know. So I'm going to take an ad break, and we're going to talk about something that to me is a very controversial one. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So we'll continue on with, I'll see if that's the next one here. It might be Lois Lane. Let's see. Yeah, we'll skip Lois Lane. So if I lied and said that went the other way, sorry. And this comes from Hollywood Reporter. Listen to that part. One role that seems to have only one person earmarked in the classic villain Luthor, Nicholas Hoult, currently starring in the Vampire. Ah, fuck. They put up all this stuff, all this fluff to like, do you have to? Everyone's going to click on the article. But Holt's name has been swirling around Legacy for several weeks now, with some theorizing he was up for Superman. The actor was a close call for, Matt Reeves' Batman. So in this article, it says he's the name being talked for Luthor. He's been talked about for weeks. Some people thought for Superman, it's for Luthor. But then Kroll, again on the other side, he came out and said, no, it's for Superman. It's not Luthor. Talk about a two-faced scenario. I feel bad and it doesn't feel bad. The guy's a good actor. He's doing well. But I was somebody that was hard championing. Now, I go back to, was it 2000, last year, Batman came out 2022. So what, 2021, 2020, whenever the casting for the Batman happened. The rumors came down to Hoult and came down to Pass. And you know, Hoult now has said, oh, I've seen the movie and I don't think I would have been good in it. I think he's just playing nice and stuff like that. But either way, came down to those two, and it was a mix of, I did not see Hoult in the role. I just wasn't a fan of that casting. And Passon, I was a big fan of the casting. So it wasn't even like a two playing fields and it's like, oh man, this guy, man, that guy, but I really don't like Hoult. It was a double whammy of, I don't like Hoult for the role and I need Passon in the role. And we got the Batman. I think he did great. He could be the best Batman as far as live action. We'll see how that goes. Really like it. I don't know who my best is anymore. I think it's still Bale, but I think Passon's Batman I really, really enjoy. So anyways, he didn't get it. And now years later, here we are, and there's talk about Superman. And this is where I feel bad, because this is the situation where I don't care much about the David guy or the other people. If Jacob Elordi was in the running, then sure, I'd be all Team Jacob, but that's not happening. If I didn't talk about Team Jacob and Pass in the same sentence, but he's up for Superman, says Kroll. It's Superman, not Luthor. And here I sit again, I go, no. Now, I will preface this by saying, because people bring this up all the time, right? And I have some on the other side. When Affleck got cast as Batman, people hated it. I was like, oh, I'm all for this. I think he can do a great job. I don't have the same thing. I feel annoyed, but to me, with Nicholas Hoult, he is a good actor. So I'd say, hey, it's not my first choice, but I'm willing to give it a shot. The same way when Krasinski was cast as Reed Richards, as that's no longer happening, but I was not a fan of it, but I went, okay, he's a good actor. I'll give it a shot. Let's see what he can do. So if he gets cast, I will go there. I will follow the path of Nicholas Hoult as Superman. I think it's a weird choice. I don't think there's anything I've seen in his repertoire so far that gives me that. But then there's people like me that would counter and say, well, he's done this. He shows lots of versatility. Yes, absolutely. So he could. There's just something about where it just doesn't click. It feels like a little off for me, which I think the same thing with David Corsi. I'm kind of surprised. I thought for sure we were gonna get a full-on American actor. Would James Gunn really, like, many times he's kept saying American Farm Boy, American Farm Boy. It is just acting, so you can put on an accent. But there's so many times where he kept saying that, like, okay, it's definitely gonna be American, but obviously it's Holt or David, not gonna be. So I'm not a fan of that casting really at all. Luckily, it's a good actor, so at least there's that. So I can be like, hey, you get at least a thumbs up for me. But as far as the choices out there, I just don't see it. And this is where it comes, Two-Face, where you got the Harvey Dent side, Two-Face side. One side that's beautiful looking man, other side completely burnt. Him as Superman to me completely burnt, and it's like between Batman and Superman, I feel like I'm Regina George. Like, stop trying to make fetch a thing. I just don't think, and maybe he could lead a comic book franchise. I just don't think these are the ones that neither Batman nor Superman, I feel like, oh, these are the right choices. And clearly he's trying to get these, because if he's auditioning for them both, then he's trying to get a big mainstream franchise, right? And maybe MCU won't touch him because there's too close to Beast. I don't know. But then on the other side, flip of the coin, him as Luthor is inspired, top class, top tier, juicy, fucking absolutely give it to me. Oh, hell yeah, casting. Because I went through a range of emotion where Chris had shared the thing in our GUA chat. I saw it, and it was just names in the mix for Superman. And then I read the article, it was like, oh, it's for Lex. I went from, oh no, to, oh my God, yes, to Kroll blank notes, and then, oh no. But maybe it's those things where it's kind of going back and forth. That's happened before, right? Like, look at Tom Hiddleston. He auditioned for Thor, but he was so good that, like, well, we want to go with Hemsworth, but like, Reed is Loki. Like, what do you think is Loki? And then they did that, and now we got, Marvel villain history there, and he was a great casting. That could be happening where he's reading for that, and they're going back and forth. There were some rumors that was happening with Adam Driver, with Reed and Doom. But anyways, I think that is, because to me, Nicholas Hoult, the times where his Beast is nothing. His Beast has not much character. It's an afterthought. To me, his performances are the favorite. What happened just past year, right? The Menu, Mad Max, and even Reinfeld, where he just, like, I think that's a bit better than Beast. But Reinfeld, he just kind of has to be the straight lead, And I like Holt a lot. I like him all the way back to Warren Bodies days. I think he is a good actor. I think he just has to get the right type of role. And to me, Luthor is like, man, whatever way you play Luthor. Now, I don't want to play him like Eisenberg to that level, but I feel like he can bring something new to it. And I feel like those characters that have a lot of layers, that, like I said, favorite, Menu, Mad Max, he can do that. I think he can present the whole, and this is where it's cool, because we get to kind of see his Bruce Wayne. Because to me, I'm always on the camp that, Bruce Wayne should be fake at night, and then he's fake in the day and real at night. And Lex Luthor is the complete kind of opposite like that, right? Bruce Wayne in the public, the version I like is kind of pompous, kind of arrogant. He's an asshole. He throws around his money. Someone you wouldn't think is Batman, because you go, he's so egotistical and selfish. That wouldn't be him. Lex Luthor's the reverse, where he's so nice. The Lex I enjoy when I read comics or see animation. The one I kind of gravitate to is he's so nice, he's so caring, kind of almost, I've always said, like, honestly, The Rock would make a good Lex Luthor. There's some certain acting things where I'd go, I don't know, but the way the Rock portrays himself sometimes where he's very friendly, but you can see sometimes there's like a level of fakeness there. That to me is Lex Luthor, and I think Holt could do that, and you kind of get to see like a version of his Bruce Wayne. And as a villain, he's multiple times played this piece of shit I want to see get beat up. The Menu was a prime example of what this guy can do. So I think him as Lex Luthor, that's a home run. And again, they've kind of said that like Lex Luthor will be in this movie, but it doesn't sound like he is the main villain. I feel like it's going to be very similar to maybe kind of like First Class, where Magneto's in there, he's around, and maybe even Lex is just fully good in this movie. I don't know, because it's Superman on Origin, so I don't know. Does Superman already know that Lex Luthor is a bad guy? And are they already at wits? Is this a movie where Superman's been operating for a year and Lex finally comes out to say, hey, we got to stop Superman? Or does he befriend him? Lex Luthor, there's so many versions. It's funny, like we talk about the Joker, right? But Lex is the same thing. You can play that character so many ways, of antagonistic right away, friendly, mysterious. Maybe you can just play him as a straight good guy. As I've said before, that's what I want. Another example, if people play the Spider-Man PS4 game, I love that Norman Osborn in that game is just Norman Osborn, you know? Same way as Billy D. Williams is just Harvey Dent. He didn't get to be Two-Face, but same way as in the Batman, if we get Harvey Dent, I would love a movie of just Harvey. Just Harvey, no Two-Face, because you get to sit with them. So imagine Lex Luthor if, like, this whole time, like, he's with us, and us as the viewers know he's not a great guy, but if they play it off in the right way where you don't know how much he's involved or what he's involved in, I would actually love if they just played it straight, and he was like almost a completely nice guy for most, and then in the third act, he's a piece of shit, but he's not like the main villain that he has to fight Superman in a power suit, right? But to me, Lex Luthor is a role where I go, man, that just seems perfect for. It's to the extent where now that I have it in my head, almost, I won't say almost anybody, because there's great actors in there around for Lex, right? But it is that extent of, man, now I've heard it, and if we don't get it, that does suck a little. And if you get Superman, I get it, because I think as an actor, well, it depends. But if you're looking for a franchise, then you want Superman, you know? And I feel like he's looking for one. The same way I've talked about Vanessa Kirby, where she was like rumored for Catwoman, rumored for Sue Storm and all this. She's looking to get on board the gravy train, and that's fine. Or they just like it, you know. Like there's people that just want to be in these things because they have like a admiration for them. I definitely would be to an extent, I guess. So that's where clearly I feel like if he gets the choice, I feel like he's going to pick Superman for the longevity, to be the guy, because he would be the pillar, right? He'd be a bit of an older choice, but he's still a young cat. He'd be the guy. And yeah, as we remake the Smallville, Clark and Lex dynamic. Exactly, right? And I'd be down for that. That'd be cool. Like that only happened on the small screen. Because what have we got? Gene Hackman, I feel like I got to watch Superman 1 again, but I feel like the public doesn't know he's bad, but we just know he's bad, right? Obviously, Spacey and Returns, you know he's bad. Fucking Eisenberg. Like, I am not the biggest fan of that Lex. You know, it was funny. I was on the vodka stream last night, and they're doing lots of BVS talk, and it's fine. I completely get it because I'm the guest and stuff like that. And because they were talking about, because Snyder brought up a comment, and that started people talking. Like he brought up some comment about people weren't ready for this type of film to jump into a Superman Batman story with all these layers, and some people took that as saying he was saying people are dumb. That's not what he's saying. But like, I just don't have the energy. You can go back and watch the vlog stream. I was quiet that whole time because I enjoy listening to them talk because they care about it. But for me, I just have nothing to add because it's like an 8-year-old movie. Like I'm just over talking about, is Batman versus Superman good or bad, or people too smart to him. Like I just don't care about it anymore. Like I'm so far. I was over that in 2016, 2017. You know, like that's to me where it is, like a year and a half. And then after all, it's like, I'm done having discourse about this movie. I'm done even entertaining this about this, unless they're memes, of course. But to go that route, I'm not a fan of Eisenberg's Lex. I feel like it was very over the top. Now, I would have liked to see in Zach's version when they showed his like kind of evolution. I think that would have been good. But that was right away you knew he was bad. Like literally he's doing bad. Even then he's just creepy. He's just a creepy guy. And he's, like I said, not Lex I pull to. He's a guy that if you met him and then on the news, like Lex Luthor's up to some bad stuff, you go, oh, okay. Same way as Keaton's Batman 89. I feel like everyone knows this fucking guy is Batman. And you know what? You can even make that case with Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne. The only reason I don't make that is because he was only in the public once for a funeral, and people they'd all be dour at a funeral, right? So that's why I'm like, okay, I gotta wait and judge. But if you put that guy in social situations, everyone's gonna know, this guy's fucking Batman. He's fucking, he's dark, he's brooding and stuff like that. We don't see him at all. So all the versions we've gotten in the films have all been Lex is pretty much a straight up bad guy or shady right away, right? So if you were to play up that dynamic of do the President Lex thing, stuff like that, a dynamic of, hey, can we trust this Lex Luthor? And make it that he's making points that make sense. Even if he's just a political figure that questions Superman, I'd be so down the first movie. Let's say he's questioning him and he's running campaigns and people are kind of against Superman, but something happens and everyone turns and they go with Superman. And Lex is kind of like, I thought you were with me. Don't we think this guy's like, there's something fucking wrong? Like he should be like watched after. He's an alien. And it's like, no, he's good. He's Superman. Then I would love that twist as well. So I think Holt, he has the layers to do it. I think there's tons of fun things to do. Gunn, I think we've seen between even Ronan, who was kind of written to be a, just B-rate movie villain and stuff like that. But I think that worked. I loved Ego. I loved High Evolutionary. I liked Suicide Squad. I think had some weaker ones, but Starro was an event villain, right? And then Peacemaker, he had the Nazis, and his dad, I think, was the Red Dragon, right? Which those were good, like a good villain as well. He's, to me, always made at least good villains. And to me, with him writing Lex, with what he just did with High Evolutionary, and someone like an actor of Nicholas Hoult, and even if it's not Hoult, someone in that caliber, yeah, I think we're going to get a really, really good Lex. So yeah, let me know in the chat too if you have anybody else you guys think that would be for Lex Luthor. Again, I'm kind of open, but Holt now is kind of, it has a bullet point for me of, man, I really want to see what he could do with that. So now the other thing, we'll go back all the way, because another thing I'm kind of torn on is, let me just get a drink here. As for Lane, the spunky reporter of Metropolis, in the Daily Planet news organization, contenders have been Emma McKay, one of the stars of Netflix Sex Education, who will appear in the Barbie movie, Rachel Brosnahan, the Emmy Award-winning actress for Amazon's acclaimed Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, the Bridgerton actress Phoebe Denove, I don't know, and Samara Weaving, last seen in Scream. So the fact that they got Emma McKay and Samara Weaving, the Margot Robbie clones, that's the type they're looking for. And so I'll start with this, and I'll talk about the choices too. It is unclear who is advancing to testing stage. What is it? Brahanshan? I think that's a no, it's like Broj. What's her first name? I'm going with Rachel. Sorry, I saw her in House of Cards, but she was like a little role. But it's like Brosnahan. There we go. I think that's how he says. Brosnahan has said to have delivered an outstanding audition, but at 32, maybe in the older range for what Gunn is ultimately hoping to achieve, a look of Metropolis heroics via 20-something character. I seen a picture of Rachel. You can play her off as a 20-something. And here's the thing for me. It's weird. Let's say going back to the first choice of David, right? Let's say he were to get it. He's 29. Rachel's 32. One, I don't think there's anything wrong with Lois being older, but you're going to tell me that he's 29, she's 32, 3 years older than him, looks great, looks young, and you're like, she's a little old, isn't she? And like I get it, because in the Hollywood and back in the day that was the thing, right? When you hit 40 you're considered for the mom roles, but I feel like we're past that. So to hear in this article, and again, who knows who the source is, who knows who's saying that, but in this article to hear 32 might be a bit too old for us. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? I hope that's not an actual mindset they have. I don't need like the baby Supermans and stuff like that. 29 and 32, these people, and I guess maybe I'm saying that because I'm also 29, I'm David's age, like, you got your whole life ahead of you, hopefully still. I'm luckily, like, life is great. I've achieved a lot of things that I want to. Sometimes, like, I still have lots of, like, my kind of extra goals now, like with the filming and stuff like that. But the idea of, like, this morning, we just, like, it was just me and Emily. We hung out with the kids. They're massively into Power Rangers right now. Once we watch Once and Always, or Forever and Always, whatever the fuck it was called, every day we're watching Power Rangers on Netflix. They love the theme. They're talking about being them for Halloween and birthday. Like, I could not believe at all. And they like all like other things I like Batman and Marvel and stuff like that and Star Wars. They like those things. And when I'm watching, like, oh yeah, I want to watch with Dad. But this is something active. Like, I want to watch Power Rangers. Did not see that one coming. I was a big fan of Power Rangers as a kid, so I guess it's moved on, but still. But we just had a morning where we watched a couple episodes, and then we were dancing to music. We were doing some cleaning and stuff like that. And it was just like 5 to 6 hours, just like chill, just like a great morning. I was like, man, this is one of the best mornings of my life. And we were just like people, all the kids were in a good mood. Funny stuff was happening. So it's like, I feel like now I'm 29. There's still so much I got to achieve, but it's like all the extra stuff. My life is like, if this was it, if all my mornings were like what I had today, I'm like, oh, I'm set. This is great. So it's just weird to hear, 32 is it's a little old. So either way, that could just be one commentary. Maybe his commentary, right? Because he even says like what James Gunn is planning on doing. So here's my thing. So all these actresses, I've kind of seen in little things. But so that's where all of them, I know they're like good enough actresses. And this is where me and Brent actually talked about this in our GUA chat a couple months ago. I can't remember. There was someone rumored. Oh, it was, no, it wasn't rumored. Someone was, oh God, what was her name? She played, Maria Rambeau, Mashana Lynch. In 2021 or 22, she gave such a vast of performances with Matilda, with the Woman King. I put her up. I haven't done that in a while. I said this probably at some point on a low news cycle. I'm going to do like a top 10 actors and ranks. I keep saying who's the top 10, who's top 10. It's tough. But she to me made a case for I could see her in there because she has such a range and she did such a fantastic job in all these roles. And there's a trending tweet going around of she should be Lois Lane. Before we continue, it's like Superman Mike says Amy Adams was older than her when she got the role. Yeah, and I guess the idea is that because Junk Gunn said he's looking for 20-somethings, that's why 32 might be too old. But I feel like if you got this case where Rachel gave an outstanding audition, you fucking go with like, hey, she nailed it. Let's go with her. But anyways, back to Marshawn Lynch. That tweet was going around, and the GOA chat was all like, yeah, I'd be for it. And I was like, absolutely not. And the reason I was, and Brent and I, not gone like an argument, we just gone like a back and forth kind of conversation, debate about all friendly. You know, I don't argue with anybody really since, I don't know, a long time. Try not to in Twitter world because it goes nowhere. You have a conversation. And I said, I don't want her playing Superman's love interest. She deserves a better role. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat right now. And Brent aptly corrected me, kind of, and said, hey, like, that's not Lois Lane. She's not a love interest. She's much more than that. But my point was, in the films, she is. To credit to whatever you feel about Zack Snyder, to me, he's the one that gave Lois Lane the most in just live action films. Because when I think of Lois Lane, I think of the animated series, and I don't think of love interest. I think of an actual character there. My whole thing with Lois Lane in live action movies is if you take 50% of her screen time, probably more of it is adjacent to Superman, right? Or Clark. And it's about him being in love with her, him trying to get her, them trying to deal with being in love, being Superman, Clark Kent, her being kidnapped by the villain because she loves him. There's not much of her own story. And look at BVS. Speaking of BVS, she has her own story. She's investigating now. I don't like that story because the whole investigation is like, we got to prove Lex Luthor's a bad guy. Where at the end of the movie, he's making a fucking alien doomsday device where it's like, well, he would have went to jail no matter what. So this whole case you're working on is meaningless. It's stupid. Like, it's just one of these things like, it feels like a waste of time. But to his credit, she was doing some stuff, right? My thing is, and especially if you already have Lex Luthor in there, you have a new Superman, you're creating this new DC universe, establishing the rules, the legacy of it, no pun intended. And now there's other DC heroes in there. She will have some plucky scenes. She'll have something where she's standing up to Perry White, but I guarantee you, and I want to be wrong, I guarantee you over 50% of her screen time will be about the romance with Clark/Superman, whatever you want to slice it, right? Even if they're just together, it will be about that. Now, I've fallen off Lois, Superman and Lois, so I think like she gets a lot there, but that's why I said films, because in TV shows, and that's where Brent and I start talking, TV shows, oh, you got so many episodes. Lois and Clark, you got so many episodes, or Superman and Lois, right? Or whichever. Was it Lois and Clark back in the day with Dean Cain, Terry Hatcher? You got tons of episodes that they can do other things. In a movie, you got a limited amount of time. And in new Superman, new Lex, probably another villain, new universe, DC heroes, new lore. Lois Lane, I hope is not at the bottom list, and I don't think Gunn is going to treat the bottom list, but I just feel like the amount of time you have to get chemistry with them, right? You got to get, we want to see these two together. And I would, again, just like how Lex, if he was to be a good guy, I would love it if the first movie, she wasn't necessarily a love interest, just that they were friendly and maybe that blossomed. I think the best thing, even though I was going to say like Pepper Potts, but even Pepper Potts, most of her stuff is like a will they, won't they with Tony, right? So to me, this is, and I'm not trying to sound bad, but like, I haven't, Rachel, people love her, Miss Maisel, I guess, Miss Marvel, Miss Maisel. So I had almost put her in the Samara Weaving category, what I'm going to talk about, but like Emma Kay, Rachel, from what I've seen her, and Phoebe, I think it's saw in some small role. They're good actresses that can play the love interest role. And that's what I think Lois will be in this. She will mostly be a love interest, or I will say at least majority of her screen time will be about the love interest thing. Samara Weaving is the name that I don't want to see on there. To me, I think Samara Weaving, now I'm making this top 10. Samara Weaving is a lot newer. If you look at the actresses that I have and actors in my top 10s, they're usually, I always have like the on the cusp, but I'm like, Adam Driver, best actor in the world. I have a fucking resume to be like, it's this, and this, like all the actors, I need a lot of them. Where Samara Weaving's still relatively new. I think she's somebody that's going to get up there. I think she's somebody like Robbie where people focus on her looks a lot. And yeah, she's a gorgeous woman, but people just jump to that first and they jump to the younger Margot Robbie thing, right? And now Emma Kay is like a younger them thing. she's someone that goes past and does have a versatility between the babysitter. I just watched Ready or Not this week because I had a craving to. She just fucking kills in that movie. I don't want to see, and I'm not as attached to the other actresses, so maybe someone will agree with me on those ones. I don't want to see Samara Weaving just be the love interest. I know she can do Lois Lane, but to me, and maybe Gunn will surprise me, but if it's in a similar realm of the other live action Lois Lanes, Samara Weaving is better than that. She to me is a franchise leading. She's to me more like, if it's an ensemble, like a Jean Grey, then I'm not trying to say get her Marvel, but just like a Jean Grey versus a Lois Lane. She should be somebody that is on the higher tier. She's even a Sue Storm. I don't think that's happening because I think it's Robbie, funny enough. But to me, and Lois Lane is a big role. You'll be there for many years, but to me, she's a Wonder Woman type, and I don't think she would be Wonder Woman either. I don't even think it's perfect casting, but I just think that level of she should be in a movie or franchise where she's one of the people in the forefront of the poster, not behind. And that's where I get it. It's the same thing. It's an easy role, but it feels, I don't want to say this because it sounds bad. It just feels like a little beneath her. Now, the flip side is, if this is like the MCU and you can get many movies, maybe we'll have lots of times to flip Lois. And if Lois Lane is a greatly written character that's not just about Clark and the love interesting, then I'll take it back. I go, you know what? That's why I get Samara Weaving, because she can deliver a great performance and tons of people more will know who she is. And that's the thing, some people don't, right? We do because we're an actor role, but there's tons of people I go, who's Samara Weaving? They have no fucking clue. No clue at all. They'll just know where's the hot girl from The Babysitter. You know that's what it will be, right? So that's fair. You're still from a career standpoint, it's not a bad gig at all. I completely understand agent wise, her wise, Lois Lane, iconic role, new Superman, if it pans off years of work, establishment. I get that. I just don't want her to get linked in this one. I think there's other stuff, even in DC, especially in Marvel, stuff like that, like other roles I could see her in down line that would be better. If she got it, she would kill it. Like, look at Ready or Not. The Babysitter's a prime example of, she plays the hot chick, but what she's supposed to do is, I can't remember if she's watched this kid, and the kid's like 12 to 14, right? And she's supposed to play the girl next door that you just fall in love with, and she's supposed to be charming and likable and lovable, and Samara Weaving can do that. She's going to walk in a room and you're going to believe Clark would be fucking head over heels for this girl. I'm not saying the other actresses won't be either, but I just mean, like, because I'm more familiar with her, Samara Weaving to me is the best one on that list, but I don't know if I need her in that role. All depends though, right? I don't have the script. It's just me assuming. Same thing as Nicholas Hoult as Superman. I could read and be like, hey, this type of Superman, this is actually perfect for Holt. I can see why you want to go that route, you know? So we'll see. It's one of those that I saw. I was like, I get it. And also these are just names, right? Who knows, testing stage. It could be a Jacob Elordi thing where they're talking to her because, hey, Samara, we think she's an up-and-comer, hot name. Like, let's talk to her. And maybe she says no. Who knows? She did do Snake Eyes. We talked about this last night after 9, and that's like a... all right. Like that was that's a franchise one. So maybe this is the reverse of, again, or the same similar thing of trying to get it right. So I don't know. I'm very excited because I was talking about this with a Twitter follower today because someone said, I'm just going to sit back and wait till the casting happens. I hate when we get a bunch of names and people overreact. And yeah, don't overreact, but this is stuff I like. This is why when we do retros, we do the trivias, because I love when it's like, hey, here's a list of 6 actors who could have been Green Lantern or Indiana Jones or were up for this role. Because you think about it, wow, that's interesting, especially after the fact, right? When you've seen the movie, you know the story, and you think about an actor like that. Like when we did the Mario retro and like they won Nick Cage as Mario, you think about like, man, and the live action Mario, like, man, Nick Cage's Mario, that would have been something, right? So that's where I like that. To me, this is the closest thing we have to sports when it's like trade deadlines and free agency. If like you get an act, like, okay, I can see that, or no, I couldn't see that. It's a fun talk because you know why? When the Superman got cast in 2012, 2011, whatever, with Man of Steel, and obviously there was back and forth people saying, oh, this guy could be Superman, this guy could be Superman, but this is the first time since then they went out and said, hey, we're doing a new Superman movie. It's not Cavill, new actor. That was 10 years ago. I'm going to enjoy my time of like having fun talking to people, theory crafting, comparing choices and stuff like that. And obviously my top runner is gone. Jacob Elordi, that sucks. So now it's like, okay, who's next? It sucks because I was hoping I was going 2 for 2 because I got Oscar Isaac. I was hoping I'd get Jacob, but you know, shit happens. I guess I got Brie Larson too. That was another one I said I wanted Brie Larson as Captain Marvel early on, and I loved Room. I thought it was a great casting choice, and I got that one. So I was hoping to get it again, but alas, didn't happen. So I have a good time hearing all these choices because I think it's just fun to compare. It's not a big deal because if the Superman movie comes out, sucks. If they suck, guess what? There'll be another one in 10 years, a new actor, and that's why. So I'm excited. What this means though is at least this report, even if they're not close, whatever reason they put out this report of for Lois, Lex, and Superman, as George Clooney said in Batman and Robin, the heat is on. The chase is on. It's happening. Actors and actresses are going around. They're auditioning. Scripts are out there. The process is happening. We're going to get more. They're shooting in January, which really, so what we're May. Let's just stop May. June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. So, okay, it's still 8 months, but still tons of pre-production, right? But even then, that's less than a year from just the shooting, right? But less than a year, 8 months away from them hopefully go and shooting. And I think they are, because Gunn was like, oh, I handed in my first draft before the writers strike, and yet, he's handing in the first draft against his ass off, but really to himself. What's he going to change? It's his, like, he's directing the fucking movie. He's going to look and go, yep, I agree with this script. Good to go. So I'm excited. And I'm excited too when we get, because soon after this, we'll be getting to Batman Brave and the Bold. And man, when we start talking about who's going to be Batman, who's going to be Robin, Alfred, a whole slew of that, like, I'm excited. That's one thing that is fun. That's what the fun thing about the reboot is. We're going to get all these different who is this, who's that. And I have a good time because I think it's, like I said, like it's sports free agency and stuff. So yeah, let's take our last ad break and we're going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy box office. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So Guardians of the Galaxy, as I said at the opening of this, nowadays after the pandemic, opening weekends are always important because obviously, like Shazam, you come out 30 minutes, you go, oh, not looking too good under the first film, stuff like that, right? So if you have a great first weekend, that's a step in the right direction. But as we've seen, and we saw it legitimately with Ant-Man this year, where biggest opening of the franchise, 102 million, doesn't matter what people say about the MCU, doing fine. The second week you can drop, like it was like a 69, 70% drop, something like that. Massive drop. Biggest, I think it was the biggest Marvel drop ever, right? And that showed the word of mouth. But we were in this lieu of, hey, what's going on? Is it word of mouth or is it superhero fatigue? We've talked about this on the newscast. We did a whole special on Star Wars, Marvel, and DC talking about their future and about the franchise fatigue and stuff like that. And we all said with Guardians, it was going to go good. And now, last week it had, and I didn't get to do the box offices, but last week they opened at, it was 118, so it was higher than the first one, but about just under 30 million lower than the second one. So to me, I took that as we just have to manage expectations now. The Marvel Cinematic Universe to me is going to function more like Phase 2. Now, people are going to look at it and go, man, they're not like Phase 3 anymore, not bringing out those bangers, $4 billion films a year. No. Oh, again, I apologize for my throat. It's just like I got a tickle going on. So, but anyway, so no, they're not going to be producing that. But you can't always expect this. Now, I got no wrestling topics today, so I'm going to use an example, and I'm going to make it an example that everyone can understand that even doesn't watch wrestling. My favorite wrestler right now is Kenny Omega from Winnipeg, Canada. He's just known for putting on these classic matches, much like the MCU phase 3 billion. In wrestling, we rank matches by 5 stars. So he was put on 5-star clinic moments, promos, which means interviews. He was just the guy. And, he won the title where he was, which obviously it's predetermined, but he got it because he was the guy and he could put on all these shows. And what happened is he was suffering an injury and he had the title. It was bad timing. And he kind of decided, hey, I'm going to get a lot of work done after this. And he got more injured and stuff like that. So when he dropped the title and storyline, he went off, got a bunch of different surgeries, everything like that, and came back. And he started slow, and then there was this week where he did about like 3 matches in 1 week. And lots of times wrestlers that doesn't happen. Sometimes he just wrestled once, and they were high octane. Like sometimes you have some matches that are just a smaller one, like maybe 4 to 5 minutes, where you're facing like a lower opponent just to make you look better. Sometimes it's like a teams match where there's other people, so you get to sit on the side of the ring and not wrestle. This guy was doing like a weapons match, and he's wrestling matches like 45 minutes, which can be exhausting. And he did all this stuff, and the old Kenny Omega would have no problem at all done that. But then he admitted he said, so after I did those 3 matches that week, now post-surgery, I know what my body can do, and it can't do that anymore. And I know like my new normal. And that's to me like what this is happening now, where there is a new normal. It's much like phase 2, where phase 3, they were lucky with Civil War. Like they got fucking Captain Marvel. Within 2 years, BVS couldn't hit $1 billion, but Captain Marvel could. That was the hype of the MCU. If you go back to phase 1, phase 2, what were the $1 billion movies? Avengers 2, and then Iron Man. Please, Iron Man 3. Someone correct me in the chat. I don't think there was another $1 billion movie, right? So and there's more projects now, of course, but still, from phase 1 to phase 2, there's only $3 billion movies. Phase 3 had so many, it was laughable. So now that it's like, well, Marvel still, other than No Way Home, which is Sony, still doesn't hit it. This is the new normal. They will hit $1 billion. Avengers, those films will hit $1 billion, in my opinion. Deadpool 3, very good chance of hitting $1 billion. What else is in there? I'm not going to go down the whole phase, right? But it depends. Either you got to have a special project that gets great word of mouth, or it's one of the big crossover films. So there is a new normal, but at the same time, these films are still one of the most, because people have said like, oh, Driver and Robbie signing on now, and the MCU's like going down like on a lower tier as far as money wise. They're still one of the most bankable franchises in the world. Biggest live action opening of the year for Guardians. Only Mario beat it. And even last year, people talk about, take out Ant-Man. It's so weird that people do this, and this is where I never understood. Ant-Man was a test, and I feel like to me there was Ant-Man, Shazam, Mandalorian numbers being down. There was this whole wave of, okay, what's happening? But Black Panther came out, sure, and that was the argument, right? Well, it didn't hit Black Panther 1. No, it didn't, but it's a more sadder movie. You lost your lead. Times are a little bit different. It didn't have that same hype, and that was that phase 3 golden era, right? Still made like 800. Let's take a look. I think it's almost close to 900, right? And even then, before, and that's the thing where Black Panther Wakanda Forever box office. And there's always a kind of like, 859 million. And the same thing with Thor Love and Thunder, right? Had the Ant-Man thing where it opened higher. And I've saw so many people be like, that was the death of Marvel. That was the start of the end. Yeah, okay. That's the death. And I like Thor Love and Thunder, but it's like, that's a little exaggeration. Opened higher than Ragnarok, but it didn't get as much box office. So that means, yeah, people didn't like it as much as Ragnarok. But it's still a hit. It still made like $700 million. And then before that, Doctor Strange made $900 million. So it's like it's that case of, if it's not $1 billion, it's a failure. If it's not $1 billion, it's no good. It's a disappointment. And we just have to look at our expectations. Now, to me, and actually, let me get in the chat here before we go. Let's see. Times have changed these days. Chris Evans says, times have changed. There's a lot more variety in theaters these days. There's absolutely that, and also we talk about it's like a broken record streaming, right? We were talking about this on After 9 last night. We were talking about Hypnotic. That came out yesterday, and we were talking, it's gonna be on streaming. So SPub's like, yeah, watch. It'll be 2 weeks. It'll be on streaming. Came out, yeah, May 30th. So it's like 17 days. 17 days. Hypnotic's there, and it's like, I'm not gonna see that. And there's still tons of people now. We have that 45-day window. That's getting less and less, and eventually once people understand, but there's more choices, you got more shows out there, more movies, everything, right? So times have changed. Superman Mike says, you can't maintain the peak of hype forever. You have to build it up again. Absolutely. That happens all the time, right? Like we had that, we talked about that in because this is the thing. This is where I don't understand. Like we had it, and if you guys were listening around that time, in 2021, from March to December, each month for GeekVerse was the biggest month. Every month was a bigger than this one. That was fucking crazy. We usually do like twice a year. There'll be like a month that spikes go, bam, this is our new biggest month. That's great. Thanks everyone. As usual, thanks everyone for listening. Again, Guardians is our biggest episode of the year. But we couldn't maintain that. We were just lucky that it was a string of No Way Home, the Snyder Cut, Disney Plus shows starting for the first time. So now like our numbers are down from then, but we can't look and be like, man, we should just pack it in. It's over. It's like you're always going to have lower times. So the fact of like, and that's just because MCU, I think people want to see got brought down not to be the king, but I guarantee you when you get top fives, there's still going to be Marvel movies in there. Lennox says, I think Deadpool 3 and Fantastic Four have a chance to hit $1 billion. F4, that's an interesting one. The big star power helps. Previews will help depending. I'm more in like the 700 million range. But Lennox, I could see a trailer and be completely turned around. to follow up, or I'll go this one. I agree that Chris Evans says, I agree Deadpool 3 has a chance for $1 billion, two hugely profitable characters together. And yeah, I think both Deadpools were like 800 million, right? One and two. I just feel like between you, the reason I think Doctor Strange did get a bump, you showed off Xavier. You have Deadpool, which already people like, and it's going to be what? That came out in 2018. So by 10, that's 2000. It's 8 years, almost a decade since we've gotten Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool. People are going to be frothing in the mouth for that. You got Hugh Jackman, which I still think is the most well-loved character casting of all time, back as Wolverine in a main role. And we keep hearing rumors of like there are going to be cameos of like maybe the old Fantastic Four, like some like Ian Grufford and Jessica Alba. Like we've heard rumors of that. We've heard rumors of Xavier and Magneto coming back, so you could show some of those off. And just even the MCU stuff. Mobius is in this movie. You're gonna get Deadpool. Like I think that has a high chance to hit $1 billion. Even if it's radar, doesn't matter. I think that's a high chance. And Lennox says, why do you think Marvel's dragging their feet on introducing characters like Ghost Rider, Silver Surfer, and X-Men? X-Men, I think that's just because it's kind of like a, in case of emergency, break glass. I think it's a case of people, which is so funny. We're going to get to Deadpool 3, King Dynasty, and I think we're going to be on a high. If the rumors are true and you get a Secret Wars film that has Tobey Maguire and Hugh Jackman, people are going to fucking love that movie. Unless it's the worst written movie of all time, that's going to cause a lot of hoopla. People are going to be very excited. So it's just kind of like a thing of I don't think they need them per se. There's all these characters that and remember, they did Infinity War and Endgame and they got the X-Men rights in the middle of it. So let's say they didn't know what was going to happen with Fox. Let's say they didn't get the rights. Endgame, they were already on a trajectory with WandaVision, with Falcon Winter Soldier, him becoming Captain America. They already had it mapped out. So that's the thing. It's like they had their phase, I would imagine their phase 4, 5, 6 pretty much mapped out, some changes, but I think that they had it mapped out. They got X-Men. They're like, great, we can sprinkle that in a little more, but let's wait. Because I think X-Men are going to be, they're like Batman now. I know people talk about Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. Yeah, there were some ones that didn't do as great, but to me, I think there's enough time, and I feel like the X-Men proper, like the first trilogy and Days of Future Past, we can see it can be a juggernaut. So I think X-Men will be big again. The same way, look at Amazing Spider-Man 2 to Homecoming. A fresh coat of paint, new actors, people be invested. Silver Surfer, I think just the right time. I think that's tied with F4. We've heard rumors of them doing a project, so I feel like that's just timing. Again, they got the project later. And Ghost Rider, that's the thing where it sounds like they are going to do Midnight Suns. I think the problem is, look at this one piece of hair. I got this weird Superman curl that's just like, doesn't look that great. But I think the problem is with that is, I think Blade's kind of, we got Werewolf by Night, but I feel like Blade's kind of going to be a real kickoff of Midnight Suns. And with that getting delayed, that delays other stuff. Ghost Rider to me is the most suspicious one. I'm surprised they haven't pulled the trigger. Silver Surfer X-Men, not at all. I could see them waiting for that. And then what are your thoughts on the Battle World phase? I don't think you could do a whole phase, Lennox. I think you could do a movie, like even a two-parter. I think they might even incorporate a little bit of that into Dynasty and Secret Wars more specifically. But it's a very gimmicky sort of idea, right? So we'll see. But back to that. So again, going to where Guardians was. All now it was, okay, good weekend. Show that. What's second weekend like? Well, to pull it up right now, it's projected. So it was so funny because I saw it the Friday. I can't remember, made like a 17, 18 million last night. And it was like 67 down % from the Friday. It's like, oh my God, it's happening again. But it's actually 67 down because that counted the Thursday pre-shows when it was really just the Friday for Friday, like what, May 13th compared to May 4th or May 5th, right? I'm right there. No, what, May 6th. Dude, what the oh my God, I can't do math there. No, because that's why. Because Friday, it's not even Friday, right? Blah, it's the Saturday I'm recording this. The May 5th. Comparing May 5th to May 12th, it only had a 47% drop. And now with the tracking of Saturday and Sunday, it's looking like the numbers are anywhere from a 46 to a 51% drop, which is fucking massive. You know why? Because even some of the best comic book MCU films, they've been dropped. 60 has been like the bar. Now, granted, don't count like a No Way Home because No Way Home has such a massive opening, it's going to like for sure drop to 60. That just happens, right? But some of these other ones, it's been 60, 60, 60, 70 for like Ant-Man. Shazam had like a 65. Really bad one. So I think the one that like has the best one recently was I think it was the Batman at 55%, and that for a while was like that's really good hold. And the Batman hasn't opened as good as some of these other ones, but still 55 really good. The fact 40, like, and here's some examples. Eric Davis tweeted this out. Guardians of the Track is to have one of the lowest second week it drops MCU in years. So right now, like I said, projected to have a 46 to 51% drop. I think it'll probably be like 50, somewhere in there, but still 50 is good. Like, if you're just a little below 60, that's usually like a positive. Like a 55 to 60, that's like a, hey, that's pretty good. Once you pass 60, you're like, that's not good. That's a big drop. Once you get past the 65, 70, that's like a fuck. That's bad word of mouth right there. Hence Ant-Man. If you're in a 50 to 55 drop, that's good. And that shows the word of mouth. And that shows, again, I'm not trying to be biased because, hey, what was I going to say? I was not a fan of Ant-Man. It's the only MCU film or project I think I've ever failed. So to me, I understood it of like, I'm not recommending this movie to anybody. I'm not saying go see Ant-Man. Guardians, I am. I think Guardians, a lot of people they are. And Superman, Mike, you brought up that it helps. There's no new big movies that came out this weekend, plus great word of mouth. Yes, but with Ant-Man, let's go to Ant-Man. I don't think that had anything the next weekend, right in February. Now it's the summer season, so people are a bit more out and about. But that was the thing with, I'll pull up that tweet again. What was in February? Because Ant-Man dropped, and I think it was like this, it has like February to run. So Ant-Man came out in the 17th, and then the next week you had Cocaine Bear, and the week after that you had Creed 3, and then you had 65 and Scream 6. To me, and next weekend you got Fast 10. Fast 10 is way bigger than any of those films. So I agree with you that like it always helps to have some cushion, but it had a couple weeks to still run game. Like I don't think Creed 3 was so big enough it would have taken it down, but it did. So a 50% drop to 100 plus million opening is amazing by any standards. Yeah, absolutely. So it's a big win, and it shows again that. And to me, I was fully willing if this one had a big weekend drop like Ant-Man, where it's 65 to 70 and had great word of mouth. That's where we all said in that Patreon special of, let's wait for Guardians. Guardians is the real test. Now when it opened a little lower than the second one, you go, okay, what's happening? Like, is the wheels turning, and we're only going to get back to people checking out the really, really big projects? But no, with this second weekend, this shows nope. If it's a great movie, or subjectively, if it has good word of mouth, with it did with critics, audience, cinema score, people will go out and recommend this, and they'll go see a second week. Even next week when Fast is out, I think this will still have a good third weekend. It'll do well. And that was the thing. It was like in Korea and China, it's like doing well in other markets too, like holds and stuff like that. So to me, this shows that comment is fatigue. To me, is not a thing. Superhero fatigue. Once again, that conversation is gone. It's over to me. Now it is, I think we're in the age though that not every comic book film can hit. That to me is not fatigue. That's not fatigue. The golden era for comic book films was like that 2018 to 2020, around there. Probably the beginning of 2020, because we got Birds of Prey and that didn't hit, right? Joker made $1 billion. I'd say 2008, even 17's tough, right? Because Thor Ragnarok did massively well, but then Justice League bombed. But then again, to me, I just say, well, Justice League didn't have good word of mouth. So I'd say somewhere between 2017 to 2019, that was the golden era. If you were putting out a comic book movie, it's going to hit and made lots of money. We're not in that era anymore. We're in the era where you can make lots of money with it. They can be billion-dollar films. They can be the biggest film of the year. But they're not going to check out everyone. So stuff like Kraven, stuff like Blue Beetle. Very worried for those two. Kraven I don't care about because it's Sony and I don't trust them. Blue Beetle I want to see do well, but I don't know if it can, because I just feel like it's coming at the end of a very big summer and people might have spent too much money on the movies this year. And I feel like people now are going to be more picky with choosy with superhero stuff. When the superhero hype was happening in that 2017 to 2019, that was just, I love fucking the GA. I love fucking superheroes. Give me all you got. Now it's like, oh, I love superhero stuff. But if I'm not interested, I'm not just going to go see it because of superhero stuff. If it has the logo of Marvel DC before, people would have jumped on board. Now, not so much. So, Blue Beetle, Marvels, Kraven, Marvels I think could do well because it could have good word of mouth, but I'm thinking like a 600 million for the Marvels. 607, maybe. But I could see the flip side of that, maybe just cracking 500, we'll see. Blue Beetle, we talked about this on After 9. I was so shocked that Shazam finished with a box office of 133 million. Are you fucked? Jeez Louise, I can't believe that. That is bad. I do think when I heard that number, I think Blue Beetle will make more than that, but I could see the cap being like a 250, 300. If it hits and gets good word of mouth, I think of 400 to 600 in play. I know that's a wide margin, so I'll just settle on 500. But if you were to ask me, gun to the head, to me it's a 253 million, 300 million. That's the top of it. I could still see it topping at 200. We'll see. I could see that thing opening with like a $35 million weekend, and again, doesn't mean if it's bad, the legs are gonna be there for sure. Look at Blade Runner. Fans love that. Critically praised. Opening weekend, nothing, and not nothing, but disappointed, and then it just shit out and bombed, right? So Blue Beetle could be the best superhero, be a top 10 comic character film. Doesn't matter. If the audience is going to come out, it's not there. Craven being rated R, I think that hurts it big times. And Marvels, I think, has some issues but I think pushing it helps a little bit, but it's also just not in the greatest weekend as well. It's the weekend before Dune, I think. And I think it's like Dune, Hunger Games. It's in a tough spot. So that's why I also think it's not going to do well. Lennox, superhero fatigue has always seemed silly to me because superhero isn't a genre. It's a collection of many films. Yeah, I'm on the other side where I do think it is a genre now because there's so many. It just you know the beats of the hero and stuff like that. But I get what you're saying. But I think it's just kind of like the way, like it's different, right? With a Western, it's always the same thing. Western doesn't have like a Joker versus an Endgame. So I get the argument there, Lennox. So I definitely see that. Aquaman, oh, that's the other one. Yes, remember, like Aquaman 2 will be interesting to see its box office from the first one. Yeah, it will be. It's in that December slot that it did very well on the first go around, but I don't know. That first Aquaman, I'm still surprised it's the biggest DC movie of all time. So I think it won't be that. I don't think it will hit $1 billion. And you got lots of movies out that time like Wonka and there's something else. But at the same time, that's where the first one came out with Bumblebee and Mary Poppins, and everyone thought Aquaman was going to eat it, and it didn't. So I got to wait to see a preview. I know people say, oh, these test screenings are awful and there's all this bad buzz. Doesn't fucking matter. Suicide Squad 2016 came out and that made a boatload of money. So you can still be, in my opinion, an awful movie and make money. Transformers, that doesn't matter, right? So Chris Evans says, I don't see Aquaman 2 doing anything incredible, unfortunately. Yeah, I feel like you could see it cap at 600 around there, which wouldn't be bad as long as the budget's relatively fine. Because all that has to matter is I feel like with Aquaman, when it came out in December, people went to see it and had a good time. If people go out to see it and have a good time again, the GA will grasp on it too. Because again, I think a big factor is there's not many movie stars, but I think people just generally really like Momoa. Fast is going to help because there's been so many reviews of Fast is lots of fun. Fast, like the new one, Fast 10 is lots of fun, to Fast 10 is fucking terrible, lowest the franchise. Every review and reaction I've seen though so far is like Momoa's great in it though, and I think people love Momoa. So it's that thing that I can't fully count it out. I need a trailer. I need to see what's going to happen, and we may hear he's lovable before that movie was released. I don't think we will, officially at least. Maybe there's a chance I guess at a Comic-Con. I won't say never, but I still think they're gonna hold off because you never know. But like I said, no one was saying Aquaman was going to be $1 billion movie. So the fact that I think all of us were probably thinking that, like, think about Aquaman 1 came out after Justice League 2017, which was a fucking disaster. And that was like, man, this is the end of DC. Then what happens is after that disaster, the 2017 Justice League, fucking Aquaman comes out, becomes the biggest DC movie of all time. So sometimes we just can't predict it. Same as Top Gun. I thought many people said Top Gun was going to be a hit, but no one said Top Gun was going to have that numbers, right? So we could be here next January and be like, man, Aquaman killing it again. It's funny that the Marvels and the Aquaman 2 sequel are coming out at the same time in a similar situation where they made $1 billion and they have a new film coming out. But to me, I look at the Marvels and go, no way it has the same success. Aquaman, I don't think it will, but I can see a version where it gets to that. So yeah, just to end this off, what was it here? So here's some of the MCU drops recently. No Way Home, 68, but again, big opening. Multiverse Madness, 67, that one hurt a bit. Endgame, 59. Infinity War, 55.5. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2, 55. Far From Home, 51. So if it were in that 46 to 50 range, it could be one of the best second weekend drops, or lowest second weekend drops, I should say, for MCU ever, which that's a huge win. So to me, I think this puts to bed the superhero fatigue stuff. That's over. I think Marvel's much more like phase 2 in that era. I think people have overblown the MCU's dead because 1, multiple hits, and 2, people are sticking around. And that's just a Twitter thing. People don't care. People will go see what they like. But I think we're back also in a stage where not every superhero film is going to print money. There will be ones that bomb the same way there was like Fan Four Stick, right? That came out the same year as, because 2014 we got Days of Future Past, Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy. 2015 we got Ant-Man. We got what was it? We got Age of Ultron, $1 billion film. Fan Four Stick came out, bombed, right? So we'll see. It's going to be fun to watch the next few weeks, but I'm happy it did well because I like the movie, and I'm happy it did well because keep bringing me this stuff. I'm seeing all this superhero stuff. I'll be there. If there is a fatigue, I don't want to hit for a very long time for the sake of myself as a watcher and the podcast and stuff like that. But thank you to everyone that tuned into this kind of impromptu Travis Told You. I might do one on Wednesday. Now we've done this. We'll see. That one's going to be news dependent because Guardians was going to be a main topic and some other stuff. So we'll see. But next week, be back with Geek First. Be back with a Fast and Furious 10 review. So thank you very much. I hope everyone has a good weekend. And I promise you in here from next, it'll all be